All right. I think we can go ahead and get started. So hi, everyone. Welcome to this virtual Lunch and Learn. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope everyone was able to order something delicious from one of their favorite local spots. My name is Angela Lee, and I am a product marketing manager at Forder. So I'll be moderating this discussion. And today's Lunch and Learn topic is on optimizing the entire customer experience and how automation can not only help with this, but why it's often an essential component in working towards achieving this goal. So the session is co-hosted by some of Forder's partners. So joining us from FenixCommerce, we have Vince. From Born, we have Claudia. And speaking for Forder, we have Angela. Vince, would you like to start us off by introducing yourself and giving everyone a brief overview of FenixCommerce?
Sure. Thank you, Angela. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. It's actually the first time I've shaved and put on a shirt with a collar in like 6 weeks or something, so thanks for that. I'm from FenixCommerce. I'm the head of marketing. Our main product is the intelligent delivery platform, which allows sellers of all types to calculate and display accurate delivery dates on their product cart and checkout pages. And we are based in San Jose, and we have offices in Hyderabad, India, and Austin, which is where I'm coming to you from now. Claudia, you want to go next?
Hi, Angela. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. Claudia Summers, Vice President of Sales for Born. Born are a global end-to-end digital agency headquartered out of New York, with offices around the world and owned by Tech Mahindra. We focus on 3 key silos: commerce, content, and creative services across B2B and B2C brands. Angela.
Thank you. We've got 2 Angelas on the call today, so it's going to be fun. My name is Angela Whiteford. I head up marketing at Forder. Forder is also very global. We have offices across all continents right now, and we are the leader in fraud prevention for e-commerce. And we're also headquartered in New York.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone, for those introductions. Really excited to have you all here to discuss. So the structure of this webinar is broken down by components of the customer journey. So each speaker will spend some time talking about how their company addresses the customer experience and optimization of that journey at various points in the purchasing experience. We'll have some time for Q&A at the end. So please feel free to add the questions to the Q&A section in this Zoom. It should be in the middle of the bar at either the top or bottom of your Zoom window. And I'll read them out loud at the end. Great, so let's get started on the search and browse component of the customer journey. This can be any interaction that a customer might have with your brand before they ever make a purchase.
So I'll kick us off. So first of all, looking at the spokes of CRO. So at Born Group, it's critical that we consider a user's entire end-to-end journey right at the start. As many of you know, one negative experience can really turn not into a loss of custom, but also a real loss of reputation for a brand. So for us, at Born, it's really important that we create a frictionless experience that's from start to finish, as revenue directly correlates to conversion rate optimization, what we acronym as CRO. At Born, we take a full 360 approach to working with clients. So that means from commerce implementations to ongoing services. And we're really able to meet our customers through every component of their digital landscape to advise on the best solutions to help shape their unique needs. And obviously every brand has its own unique needs and its own narrative. So for us, it's really critical to keep in mind the following attributes mentioned on the slide. Let's start with UX and persuasive and design, A/B testing, data analytics, and action-oriented copy. So all of these really contribute to creating a very smooth and simple end-to-end experience. So first of all, just to take these into a little bit more detail for you, I'd like to touch on user experience and persuasive design. So designing a meaningful and innovative digital experience really allows an opportunity for businesses to connect with users in another capacity. At Born, what we do is leverage data, human insight, and create intuitive solutions that are brand-centric, that also help meet the customers across every touch point to ultimately convert them into what we want, which is a retained customer. Next up, A/B testing. Obviously, this is super, super important. We've got to be constantly improving a client's site performance over time. And one key aspect of this is through A/B testing. We'll come to a few more. Next up, data analytics. So in addition to the A/B testing, the science part, there is the insights part. So making slight changes to improve the customer experience is really, really critical to take advantage of the data analytics at your disposal as a brand or a company and take actionable insights to improve your business overall. So finally, we get to the importance of content. As we hear so many times, and it's a bit of a cliche, content is king. There is a reason why that is a cliche. It relates directly to CRO. So at Born, we have a content practice which focuses on planning, auditing, and creating content from scratch or repurposing existing assets for leverage across multiple channels. So what this does is it really encourages action and it delivers engagement for our client. And this is what we're looking for. So it's critical that this content, whether it's for a shoe manufacturer or a B2B brand, delivers the exact brand narrative messaging and branding that will bring conversions about. Finally, action-oriented copy. What does this mean? It means evergreen, brand-centric content that is constantly alive and kicking for your site. It's got to be changed every week. And I think on that note, I am handing to Vince.
Oh, it's actually me, Angela.
My apologies.
No worries. Well, keying off your comments, Claudia, which are, I could really resonate with those. When we think about customer lifetime value, it is really about winning at each and every one of those interactions across the purchasing journey. Login, checkout, returns, loyalty programs, and more. But here's the bad news. Unfortunately, we're seeing fraud increase and is becoming very disruptive against those same purchasing points. Fraudsters are becoming much more sophisticated. I know the theme of this webinar is automation. Guess what? Fraudsters are using automation too. They're using machine learning and AI. And they're attacking the vulnerable spots across that purchasing journey. So I'm sharing some stats with you here. We're seeing overall, we're seeing an increase of fraud 20% over last year. But what we're seeing is the significant increase in fraud in those touch points. So at the point of purchase, we see 40% increase in card not present fraud. But things like account takeover, where someone is using stolen credentials to come in and take over an account, that's up over 160%. Loyalty program fraud, where people are breaking into loyalty accounts and siphoning off your points, that's up by almost 300%. Buy online, pick up in store fraud, again, using fraudulent credentials to pick up items that you have not purchased, up 62%. Returns abuse. Some of us may have done this actually, where you buy an item, you wear it, and then you return it. There's a term for that. It's called wardrobing. That is up as well. Or you buy something and then you return it with damage or fake content in it. And that's up over 33%. And then finally, buy online, return in store as well is up over 23%. So the main message here is fraud is on the rise, and it's really important that you're protecting your consumers, not just at the point of purchase, but across these different touch points. So if we go to the next slide, please. So with consumers, what do they want? They want instantaneous, they want seamless, they want that personalized experience. So it's critical that you do have an automated fraud prevention platform that's protecting your consumers at those different touch points on the purchasing journey that we discussed. With Forder, we do just that. We have a fully automated platform that's evaluating behavior and transactions across the purchasing journey, and we're making an approve or decline decision in real time, delivering that instant seamless experience that your consumers want. One example, a simple example, is if someone is trying to take over account using stolen credentials and they're going in and updating account information so they can easily siphon off the dollars or the points from that account, we can identify that. We can actually detect that someone using false credentials is going in and trying to do this, and we can decline the ability to make that update to the account. And that's just one example. And I will hand it over to Vince.
Thanks, Angela. By show of hands, does anyone here shop on Amazon? Just kidding. Everyone shops on Amazon, of course. And Amazon has become really good at teaching us what we want to see in order to convert, right? So one thing that Amazon is teaching us is that we want to see, oh, I'm not controlling it. One thing that Amazon is teaching us is that we want to see estimated delivery dates as early as possible in our journey. So when you pull up a search results page on Amazon, or if you pull up a product page on Amazon, you almost always see some kind of estimated delivery date. This has become a little bit more dicey with the pandemic. It's not as reliable, and the dates aren't as close as they used to be, but they're still showing dates for most products, and certainly on the product page, they're showing them for almost all products. Not only the date, but the order cutoff time that you've got to submit your order by to get the product by that date. Next slide. So at Fenix, we're one of the few platforms, or maybe the only platform, that actually allows any retailer to replicate that functionality that you see on Amazon and put dates as early as the product page or even earlier. This example here that we're showing is from one of our clients, Chess House, which makes really cool chess sets, including this really cool 4-player chess set that kind of blows my mind, like how do 4 people play chess at once. But anyway, they've configured the platform to do this little brief snippet that shows you the expedited delivery date. They've configured the platform to show you the quickest way you can get this product on a product page. They're getting my zip code in this case by looking at my IP address. If I was logged in, Fenix could actually look at my customer profile to get my zip code and put it up there. We can change it, of course, if you want it to send it someplace else. And then if you want to see more options, you can click on the little link there that Chess House is, again, enabled to show another sort of curated set of shipping options. Another client of ours, Scar Audio, is taking this even a step further, and they're showing a safe delivery date on every single page and a banner on every single page on their website. And they can do this because they don't show out of stock items. And they're very confident. They have a distribution center on each coast, and they're very confident that they can hit the promise dates that our platform calculates for them. So they show them every place. And it turns out that this is actually a really powerful thing. So we had one of our clients, a major apparel retailer, did an A/B test and isolated Fenix to the product page and saw a 0.65% increase in revenue from having Fenix on the product page. So that's not about it's about conversion, but the actual stat is 0.65% increase in revenue. When they also isolated us to the checkout and cart page, they saw another 0.75% increase in revenue. So these guys saw a total 1.4% increase in revenue just from having these delivery dates out there. This is about $100 million a year business. So that is $1.4 million a year of incremental revenue to their top line just by having delivery dates on their product cart and checkout pages. We'll turn that over to Angela, I think.
Yeah, great stuff. And now we're going to move into talking about the actual checkout and cart experience. Oh, Claudia, you're on mute.
Excuse me. So cart abandonment, this is obviously one of the really great challenges of making a transaction close. So a poorly optimized checkout experience is definitely going to lose you sales, and this has been well documented, as we all know. So to explain the stat on the right of the page, in September of 2019, the Baynard Institute compiled 41 cart abandonment rate statistics from groups like IBM, Adobe, Forrester Research, to get an average cart abandonment rate of almost 70%. That's a staggering figure. So how do we reduce that? So at Born, we consult to brands and we tell them that we need to tailor-made, bespoke, a sharp commerce strategy that fits in with the brand story. And this really is the foundation of building any site with great CRO from the get-go. As we mentioned earlier in the presentation, it's also really critical to consider a user's entire end-to-end experience through the checkout. So with an incredibly saturated market, there are many different options for shoppers, definitely not just one. Customers have the option to buy from different sources, marketplaces like Amazon, Alibaba, etc. So this checkout process is really a critical element to any brand's e-commerce solution as a whole. So on the right, you'll see numbers that are cited from 2019 in a digital study. And this highlights some of the key numbers when considering what has been seen people leaving sites prior to the closing of a purchase. So some points around these numbers just to help give you 3 key wins, really. Number 1, failing to capture mobile. It's such a rookie error. A mobile-friendly site is 67% more likely to capture a purchase. Equally, a poorly optimized mobile site is 5 times more likely than desktop to issue a cart abandonment. So that's really something to think about. Number 2, we have optimization. As we always see, a well-documented site can see an overall 30% sales lift and a 50% decline in bounce rates, and equally a 70% overall increase in individual number of products sold. That's really interesting, and that's how we begin to data analyze and crunch numbers and feedback to tailor-making strategies for our clients. Finally, ease of use. So this study that we report on also shows 61% of users will move to another site if they don't find what they're looking for right away. So, you know, people have very short attention spans, and we want to keep them engaged and surprise and delight throughout the journey. So what would we suggest to overcome cart abandonment? In the essence of keeping users' experience as seamless and as neat as possible, we definitely advocate for a single sign-on. This is really an intuitive tool that allows customers to load very easily credit card information, billing information, shipping details, and save that history. We all know how annoying it is to have to keep inputting that information time and time again, and that helps us retain clients as well. So in this day and age, just to really summarize that point, any type of disturbance, such as load time or other time-consuming process, is an irritation. And at this point, it's just creating access for shoppers to maybe go and explore a myriad of different alternatives. Going back to the automation process and why it's critical to retain customers, what we feel at Born is that this tool often automates follow-up emails, and it restarts that sales funnel. So if there's been an abandoned cart, it helps page optimization and much more. Another way that we reduce cart abandonment is to really target the specific users with digital marketing campaigns, which we devise for clients as an ongoing part of their content calendar. This is really important. But I guess just to wrap up on this slide, the more simple, the more intuitive the checkout experience, the more conversions that you're going to have. Vince, over to you.
Yes, abandonment is what we tend to see here when we do the cart and checkout. So I think Claudia mentioned 70% overall. Actually, I was a little bit stunned when I was prepping for this. I found a new report from FenixCommerce that came out late last year that says, based on delivery options, people are 77%. People abandon it at a rate of 77% if they don't like your delivery options. And I was stunned by that because the last stat I had in this slide before I updated it was from 2018 when that number was 45%. So it's really becoming crucial, and as time goes on, people are being trained more and more to look for those delivery dates and costs, and especially in the cart. And a lot of sellers don't provide them. We see them with the enterprise retailers like Amazon and Walmart who have built their own custom functionality. There's a few other solutions out there that provide some measure of this, and usually it's something like get it in 5 to 7 business days, and you're making your customer do math in their head and figure out what a business day is, and sometimes when they can get the order in on time. And what Phoenix does, the reason that there's few solutions out there in the market is because the math is hard, and the reason the math is hard is because there's a lot of variables that you've got to consider. So let's look at each one. So the first is product. Of course, we have to know how much the product weighs to get a shipping cost and an estimate from the carrier, and we have to know the package dimensions if dimensional weight are going to come into play. But we also would like to sell multiple products in an order, right? So we need to know how those products package into the boxes that we have. So Phoenix offers a packaging component that will automatically determine what things fit together into your boxes so that it can send the carrier the most accurate view of the order that you're going to be shipping to get the rate back. The next question is about inventory. So if you've got multiple inventory locations, you're generally going to want to ship from the one that's closest to the customer because then you'll get the quickest delivery times and the lowest rates. So we need to know that. We need to know where the inventory is. But some of our clients are actually starting to use Phoenix to help with load balancing of inventory. So another thing you can do through shipping is you can decide to ship an order from an inventory location that might not be closest, but that has too many of those products in it, right? So if you've got a surplus of product in one location, you can actually choose, you can configure the platform to go sell that first before it starts selling the closer location if you want to sell that down. The next question is about operations. So again, if you have multiple fulfillment locations, like for example, our client Tailored Brands has 1,000 retail stores or so, plus a number of DCs that they ship orders from. We need to know, in addition to where the best place to ship it from is for a given shopper situation, we need to know what's going on in that fulfillment process in that location. So the Phoenix platform allows you to configure, for example, the days that a location is shipping, what's the order cutoff time for an order coming in to get shipped out the same day, or alternately, what's the lead time? How much time does it actually take to pick, pack, and ship an order? What days do they open? How many shifts do they run? When are the holidays? And then beyond that, and this is also something that's important to some apparel retailers like Tailored Brands, you might have certain products or certain categories that take longer to pick, pack, and ship. So we allow you to go in either by SKU or category and assign additional buffers to those products. So for example, if you're shipping a pair of pants and it has to be tailored, you can add an extra 2 days or however long that process takes onto those specific products or categories. And finally, operationally, sometimes things go awry, right? So sometimes you've just got a demand spike that is slowing down your fulfillment operation. There might be a hurricane that's, preventing shipments to a certain part of the country, or that's slowing down another one of your operations. There might be some kind of labor issue. So Phoenix has configurable parameters that allow you to go in and specify those temporary conditions, either related to a given shipment location, like a zip code range or a state or a region of the country, or related to a specific inventory location if there's a slowdown there. And all of those variables are then used in the calculation to determine the delivery date. The next variable we need to look at is the shopper. Of course, we need to know, you can go ahead. We need to know where they want the thing shipped, right? But also some of our clients want to know certain behavioral or loyalty aspects of the shopper so that they can customize shipping options for that person. So the platform allows you to go in and set up rules, for example, to ship for free to a first-time buyer, or to make special offers to a customer based on their loyalty status. And finally, there's the carrier. Once you have the product parameters, the inventory location, and the shopper's shipping address, you can send that. We send that off by API to whatever carriers you have relationships with. So we have pre-built integrations to all the major carriers and a number of regional carriers. And if you've got a carrier we don't have, we can build an integration for it. But we can send the order data off to all your carriers, get back the time estimates and the cost estimates, and then decide which ones we want to display to the customer. And all this happens in real time whenever they hit a product page or look at their cart or checkout. So the timing piece of that is that the carriers send back a timing estimate for the transit time, and we take all the variables I talked about for operations, cutoff time and carrier pickup time and all that, and we do all this hard math to be able to tell the customer a specific accurate date instead of a range or something that's overly padded. We tell them a specific date that they can expect to get the package and when they have to order it by to get it by then. And we update that in real time. So if they come back to the page later, it updates based on what time it is. And this really works well. So if we go to the next panel here, for our clients in general see an average 10% conversion increase. That's across all clients. We had one large apparel retailer that actually did an A/B test and saw a 14% conversion increase by putting us on product cart and checkout pages. We also see positive impacts on other stats. So Men's Warehouse saw a 3% lift in average order value when they A/B tested us. again, across all of our clients, we provide an average shipping revenue increase of about 21% because we help them to upsell higher revenue shipping services. So there's a lot of positive impact from just being able to display these accurate dates. And with that, I will turn it over to Angela.
Great, thank you. So creating that frictionless experience and reducing cart abandonment rate, from our perspective, it's really about understanding the identity behind the person trying to make that transaction, and if that buyer is legitimate or a fraudster. Because if you know they're legit, then you don't make the consumer jump through hoops to complete that transaction. What does that mean? You don't need to add additional friction. And with an automated fraud prevention platform, it's really important that the system can tap into a global network of data. At Forder, we have a global network that aggregates data from multiple merchants across different verticals, across different geographies. Why is that important? Consumer behavior is changing fast. And in this environment right now, it's unprecedented. However, at the same time, fraudster behavior is changing even faster. So you need to be able to feed a wide set of data from different geographies, different touch points, different industries and clients into a machine learning based system. So with the highest level of accuracy, it can identify, is this a good guy or is this a bad guy? Is this a legitimate transaction or is this a fraudulent transaction? And you need to be able to do this at scale and in an automated fashion, going back to that customer experience that's so important. And this data actually is really important right now. It's really important when you're trying to assess transactions by infrequent customers. And we'll be sharing some data later that right now we're seeing a number of customers purchasing online for the very first time. So how do you make that accurate identification if it's a legitimate buyer or a fraudster? I am also similar to Vince, using an example and comparing Forder to Amazon, but what I'm trying to showcase here is the breadth of the network. So with Forder, we actually know over 97% of the people buying online in the US. And globally, we know over 750 million unique customers. So with a very, very high degree of accuracy, we can tell if the person behind the transaction is legitimate or it's a fraudulent transaction. And that becomes very important. So what you can see here is that we're pretty much double the size of Amazon globally and very close to Amazon here in North America. Over to you. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, so moving right along to the post-purchase customer experience. I think Vince, you're kicking us off.
Yeah, so when we get to post-purchase, I think a lot of people think about order status, right? Or like delivery notification type messages. Angela, you want to pull up the... And at Phoenix, we offer that. We consider that table stakes. There's a lot of solutions out there that provide this, right? And every carrier has their own order tracking page. So we think it's important to provide this. But where we think the real value is in looking at the data of shipments as they move through your fulfillment process. So we have here a screen from a analytics and reporting tool that we're rolling out now, where we can aggregate all of your shipments, and we can basically present the data from order submit through actual delivery to the customer. And then you can slice it and dice it and analyze it any way you want. But some of the really interesting things that we see in this sort of data, we can see in this close-up here, we can flag late orders, right? So if something's gone awry in your fulfillment process and we can predict that an order is going to be late because of that, we can flag that, and the Phoenix platform can actually send a message to the warehouse saying, upgrade the shipping on this order so we can try to get it to the customer in time, which is really important because 70% of customers don't return after a bad delivery experience. So if you can't get it there on time by upgrading the shipping, you could, trigger an email that apologized in advance and provided some kind of incentive for the customer to shop again. Another really interesting thing here, and you can kind of see in the background how many earlies are showing up in this report for this particular client. And in the foreground, you can see early by -4 days. That means it's 4 days early. It's 4 days before the predicted date. When we start looking at those kinds of shipments and really dig into that data, and this tool allows us to do that, we can usually figure out why it's arriving that early And, you know, most of us probably don't mind if our order arrives early from an e-commerce store. Sometimes that would make us happy, right? But from a seller's perspective, it's actually really bad to have your order arrive early, because conversion is correlated with the amount of time it takes to get the order. And people convert at a higher rate when they see closer in delivery dates, when they see dates at all. 50% of, or 53% of shoppers will abandon a purchase due to slow delivery dates. So if you can cut down that delivery time frame and make it more realistic, you'll have increased conversion. And using this tool, we can help you figure out what the root cause of that is. Usually it's like there's a parameter that's set incorrectly at a certain fulfillment location, or there's a certain set of products that get picked, packed, and shipped faster. And we can tweak the configuration parameters to get that number to be more realistic. And there's another thing you could do as well, and that would be if you've got an extra 4 days, and you could just downgrade the shipping for those orders, right, and have them use a lower cost method and get there closer to the actual projected date. And then finally, probably the most powerful use of this kind of data kind of goes back to what Angela talked about with Forder's network of customers that they know. So there's a network effect. Every time they add a new customer and knowledge of that customer, they increase the value of their database, right? And they make their fraud predictions even more accurate. Well, with Phoenix, it's actually about every order that flows through makes our machine learning engine learn more about the accuracy of those dates and make the future dates more accurate, right? So we're building the most comprehensive database of thinking across all the carriers, all different package sizes, all different zip code pairs in the US. We are building a database that tells us the carrier predicted this for this situation and it actually arrived at this time. And we can learn from every one of those transactions and make the next prediction even more accurate. And that's going to create massive value going forward for anyone who's on our platform. And with that, I will turn it back over to Angela.
Thank you, Vince. So post-purchase programs are a great way for retailers to differentiate themselves and remain competitive. Things like liberal returns policies and very rich, valuable loyalty programs are a great example of that. There's some stats here on the slide on the left. These types of programs are big drivers of customer lifetime value. But as I mentioned earlier, these are exactly the types of programs that are being attacked by fraudsters, because they typically do not have good fraud prevention or abuse programs in place to protect them. And so I'm just showcasing a few here. One I didn't mention earlier is item not received. So people are claiming they didn't receive an item when they did. And so that's on the rise at 13% right now. And we talked about loyalty and Boris earlier. What we're showcasing here is one of our customers, delivery.com, who provides food delivery services, and they had an issue with loyalty fraud. And using our fraud prevention platform, they were able to reduce that fraud by over 60%, which is pretty significant. Forder's pretty unique. We're unique in this space in that not only do we prevent against fraud, but we also prevent against abuse, or policy abuse, as some would call it. And what is that? That's when your actual customers are abusing your policies. And that could be promotional policies, that could be return policies, that could be things to do with your loyalty program policies. So both fraud and abuse are hitting your top line, and those are things you want to protect against. I think it's over to Claudia now.
Thanks, Angela. So I guess what I wanted to do, just to wrap up from Born's end, is we've talked a lot about the what and the when, and we wanted to show you some of the how. So here are a couple of key case studies of ours to really highlight some of the major trends that we touched on earlier, and how we optimize a customer journey right through to automation. So the first case study is an accessories brand, Montblanc. It's a Richemont company. The second is Penhaligon's. This is a Puig company. So they're both owned by big brand conglomerates or umbrellas. And most importantly, they're two luxury heritage brands. So when Montblanc approached us, they really wanted a digital experience that could capture, one, the timelessness of their brand, whilst communicating state-of-the-art capabilities. So you can be a heritage brand, but you can be digitally transformed. That's exciting. So what we did was we improved their customer experience along with driving up their conversion rates, user engagement, and that was all encapsulated in an all new UX design and UI interface. So throughout each step of the buyer's journey on the Montblanc site, we tailored Montblanc's experience to really drive and delight the consumer. And along with ensuring that these processes could be streamlined and automated, that's where the art and the science meet. What we really wanted to do was highlight a mobile first experience, capture those modern demographics, and utilizing enhanced content management. A brand like this is all about content, and they have beautiful imagery that is just, you know, dying to be shown off. This is also a really great way of building brand loyalty and telling the unique story of Montblanc. So landing pages traditionally are designed for content writers so that our writers can quickly update content, listings, without needing back-end input, that really saves on the level of effort and the resources that you'll need to manage your site. What we do is by targeting consumers with tasteful editorials, email campaigns that all sit within the overarching brand narrative, we build a clientele that really trusts the brand experience of Montblanc and is seeing that firsthand. And it's not an inferior experience to the store. If anything, it's smarter, sharper, and more innovative. So moving on to Penhaligon's, they are an artisan, English-centric fragrance brand. They really came to us for full UX and UI redesign. This was after a platform consultation. This is a service that we would offer when brands are not sure which platform they want to approach, and they want an agnostic, unbiased take on what is best for their business requirements, their budget, and their timeline. But just going back to Penhaligon's, there was a content-heavy demand with this. They wanted to refresh and showcase their digital fragrance collections, which all have very unique stories to tell. We have to sensorially explain those individual fragrance stories online when maybe somebody hasn't been in store, and support that overarching brand narrative that is incredibly specific to Penhaligon's, so that the minute you land on the site, it is unmistakable that that's the brand that you're on. So these stories really educate, entertain, and convert. And those were three things that our team really kept in mind throughout the process. And I would invite you to, play around on their sites and have a look. Finally, we reshot all of their e-commerce content from the e-com, the lifestyle, and we did it all in-house in our studio. And this is something that we do quarterly or seasonally to keep their site evergreen. Angela, I think it's back to you.
Thank you, Vince, Angela, and Claudia. Great discussion. I think we'll jump right into the Q&A. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to add them. Looks like our first question is, how do you see the coronavirus pandemic affecting customer behavior at this stage? Obviously, lots of things have been changing. And how do your technologies address these new problems?
I can go ahead and I can start. One of the things, and I think I mentioned this a bit earlier in the discussion, is that we're seeing a ton of first-time buyers and a ton of new accounts being opened. So new people purchasing online on these sites for the first time. So just some stats that we've been collecting through our global network. So we're seeing over a 200% increase in transaction volume in beauty goods, as an example. And similarly, close to 250% increase in grocery deliveries. So those are a couple of spikes. I know we're not all traveling right now, but actually we've seen a spike of travel bookings 120 days out. So people are looking forward to getting back to travel and it's starting to book a little ways out for their time away. So those are a couple of things that we're seeing right now. And I think in terms of how does our technology handle this, the machine learning model, the data that we're feeding into the model is really important. So that data captures the change in consumer behavior and the fraudulent behavior. So the platform is actually up to date and making decisions based on the changes that we're seeing right away. It's very dynamic.
I can speak to that too a little bit, Angela. On our end, we're seeing that people still want their non-essential stuff. And what I mean by that is a lot of our clients sell on Amazon and direct to consumer. And often their Amazon was a higher volume channel for them. After the pandemic hit and Amazon started putting in place restrictions on certain items or prioritizing certain items over others, we saw that a lot of our clients saw it as an opportunity to bring more of the business back to their DTC sites. And as an added bonus, they're using us so they get to predict accurate delivery dates and minimize shipping costs. They started to beat Amazon, right? For the first time ever, our clients could get orders out before Amazon, right? Before FBA type orders. So whereas Amazon used to promise 1 or 2 days on FBA, now Amazon for some items was, not promising anything, or even for essential items was promising generally more than 2 or 3 days. And our clients using Phoenix could take that demand that wasn't getting satisfied on Amazon and start fulfilling it directly. Some of our clients, like Spiceologist, which is a culinary site, and Fabric Wholesale Direct, which makes fabric which can be used in face masks, saw massive increases in their DTC traffic versus what they used to sell on Amazon. And I think this is a good lesson for everyone that for every seller, that it's possible, even if you're a smaller DTC brand, it's possible to replicate the functionality that Amazon has, and it's possible to compete with them, and get closer to your customers in that way.
I think from my end, obviously Born, we're a services agency, and I think just to, look at it from the other side of the fence from Vince and Angela, we don't provide products, but we provide services. And I think the two key things that stand out for us with how our brands, responding to COVID, it's interesting to see how they're approaching holiday this year. It's obviously unprecedented and totally different. And that's from direct feedback, but online, it's from data collection and how we analyze and interpret that analysis. So the consumer behavior that we're tracking online. And then it's also changing consumer behaviors across the different verticals that are suddenly of interest to them. So maybe it's at-home fitness, maybe it's home, and things that really are not so important, such as, going to buy an evening gown. And I think we're really going to see a segregation in the verticals as we move throughout 2020.
Great, thanks everyone. The next question seems to be specific for Phoenix. What is FenixCommerce's timeline for building API integrations to non-OOTB, I'm guessing out of the box carriers?
Well, we add new integrations as we see demand for them. So right now we support DHL, UPS, FedEx, USPS, and like I said, a couple smaller regional carriers. We're a pretty totally API-based platform, so it's fairly straightforward for us if there's demand from a client to go ahead and build a new integration for a new carrier or set of carriers. We are right now we're only integrated with U.S. carriers, but we are talking to a couple different clients about potentially expanding the platform to cover European carriers as well. So we're looking at that, and if there's a need for that, we will definitely look harder at it.
Great, thanks. The next one is, how do you recommend balancing customization, so in content, experience, etc., and automation?
I can jump in. I'll just give a quick note on that. I think, especially when it comes to machine learning and machine learning models, they have to be customized to the retailer. Every retailer has a different risk appetite. Every retailer has a slightly different business model, their product portfolio, the geographies that they operate in, the policies that they offer. From a fraud prevention standpoint, you have to feed that into the model. Those models need to be customized, and it all goes back to accuracy, to accurately identify legitimate behavior versus fraudulent. So we don't see it as a trade-off. You're still a fully automated platform providing approve and decline decisions in real time. It's just the customization is critical for accuracy.
And I think I can jump in as well. It's the same for our clients. As I mentioned earlier, everything is tailored to a client's particular brand, eccentricities, idiosyncrasies, and how do we tinker and tailor that? Because just a few small tweaks can really have an overwhelming difference in the results. And I think more so than ever, we are finding very specific treatments for individual verticals, you know, born about by this situation that we're in is critical. The tailoring.
Great, thanks. This one seems to be post-purchase specific. So how have expectations changed during this time as that you've seen so far? How are merchants handling returns? What do you recommend as best practices?
Claudia, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I think, you know, someone mentioned this earlier, but, you know, in times like these, we say to clients, you are lucky if people are buying online. Obviously, if you're in those few key verticals where everyone's flocking towards it, fine, but flexibility is really the key. People are in unusual circumstances, both individually and as a people. And I would really encourage my brands to be flexible, be fair, and perhaps update their FAQs online. Actually acknowledge what's happening. I think the worst thing we can do is pretend that everything's fine. I think it's so much more comforting to go onto a site and have an up-to-date message about the state of play and how this brand will respond if you're not happy or you want to send something back. So I think, you know, acknowledgement and ownership and great communications is absolutely crucial, as it always has been, but even more so right now.
From a Forder perspective, again, I can share data, right, that we are seeing an increase in returns abuse during this COVID time right now. So again, another reason to make sure that you have systems that are protecting you. You know, keying off what Claudia said a little bit, it is really important during this time to understand and offer more liberal policies, like more liberal returns policies. You just have to make sure that you're protecting yourself against any abuse as part of that.
Great, thanks. Next question. What do you see are the biggest pitfalls in terms of how merchants address the pre-purchase customer experience?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I have a really obvious answer from my perspective. They don't give accurate delivery dates. And I think, you know, beyond that, one of the things that we sometimes tell clients who are, you know, trying to figure out like where to put a delivery date estimate in a mobile experience or something is simply to look at how Amazon does it. I mean, Amazon and larger brands like that spend, you know, many millions of dollars a year optimizing customer experience. And so from a pre-purchase experience perspective, what they're doing is often a very good thing to do. And so a quick, easy way to get some ideas about how to do any kind of experience initiative effectively is to look at what the Amazons are doing.
Great. The last question that we have so far, I know you've spoken a lot about frictionless experience for retention of users. What would you say is the role of personalization in the customer experience?
Yeah, I can take this. I think, again, looking at it from our perspective as an agency and a services industry, we work across all major platforms. We are agnostic in that respect. And we also, you know, it's really important for us in our business to be at the forefront of digital transformation, innovations, and you know, new products and how they're changing, and being able to evaluate one partner to another. And I think that's what we try and do, is we're very much consultants in the way that we want to be able to pinpoint for our clients exactly what is the situation for them and their business needs, and really execute the best experience integration plus the strategy to fit their needs. And I've said this a few times, but I really can't highlight it enough. Tailoring is you know, the key to a beautiful suit that fits you. And it's a great analogy for this. So really what we do is to help ensure that is design, deliver, optimize a very personalized experience. And that builds a customer relationship. It creates authenticity. And, you know, again, right now more than ever, everybody's looking for authenticity and a way to prove quality and build trust. So, you know, for us to achieve that, I guess our practice is built across many different things, really, but insights, research, data, how we analyze that. And then how do we parlay that into UX, UI, creative content, production? How do we bolt in the tech? How do we optimize and execute? And then how do we keep that evergreen? Because, you know, it's not once it's done, it's done. Your site is, you know, is your baby, and it is your living, breathing child that needs to be fresh and grow up every day, and, you know, be zeitgeist, be a sign of the times. So again, we just really want everybody to have a unique experience for their own persona.
Great, thank you. That was all the questions that we received. If anyone has any additional questions, I'll give everyone a few seconds to add anything else. But otherwise, thanks everyone again for joining us. We'll be following up shortly with a recording of this session. And so if you have any additional questions or feedback, please feel free to just reply directly to that email. And I hope you have a great rest of the day, and looking forward to having you join us again in the future.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.